Welcome all. Our today's topic is getting back to studies after a long break. Now, this time it was a pandemic situation and most of the nations faced lockdown. But besides that, also, whenever there is summer vacation, winter vacation, or any festive vacation, what happens is getting back to normal, resuming your normal becomes a big challenge. So, today we are focusing on the three simple C's that we would discuss towards the end of the video, and our idea would be to help you understand the major areas through which you can develop your capabilities and achieve success. Now, before we begin with couple of questions, I have a simple example for you. You might have seen a person at 60 years qualifying probably an exam for lectureship, a person at 38 years qualifying an exam for medical entrance, a person at 50 years entering for a PhD program. So all these are some of the case studies that we hear off and on in the news. They have been there, and whenever we focus on these, we understand that study or learning is a lifelong process. It does not stop at one point. So definitely, once you are into studies, you should be committed for a lifelong study. It could be in one form or other form, but yes, it moves on and on as you progress. Now, I have a very simple question for you. Why are you on YouTube right now? So this is my very simple question. Now let me wait for a couple of answers to come in. Why actually are you on YouTube right now? You could write the answers as probably you are here to learn some new concept. Probably you are here because you were fed up studying and you wanted a break. Probably you are here because you are making your mind to start studying and you don't know where to start. Probably a lot of friends have been on YouTube and suggesting you to be on certain platforms. So you are there. It could be for social networking. It could be for any number of reasons. But the idea here is you must be able to address this issue by your own self, and the sole logic is do not cheat yourself. So do not come up with an explanation that no, I am serious candidate and I am seriously on YouTube right now. I'm looking for a productive video. So I believe 90% of you would be in that category, but there would be 5 to 10% who would be there thinking about making their mind to study. So there have been various instances. The best idea is to understand yourself, analyze yourself, and then say why are you actually here. Now once you understand why are you actually here, you try to focus on the intricacies, whether you have been having a long break reading the books. Because let's say there is a same topic, I am reading a book versus I am watching a video. Two of the things are very different. The learning outcomes that would be seen from both the aspects would be very different, in the sense that there has to be a fundamental base on the top of which you can understand it through a video or through a concept which is there in the audiovisual form. So make it a very interesting point to understand why you actually are doing certain acts as you do. So we have a very simple example here. Let's say there is a child. He wakes up every morning and every day he tries to watch a cricket channel or his favorite sports channel, and every day he has been told by his parents to study, but the child is not ready to do so. Now one fine day there has been a deadline. Now what is the deadline? Obviously exam time. So it is time to sleep. The next day, the child wakes up and sees that he has to move to school. Now there is no option, but it is the exam day. Now since he has already reached that point where you have to face the exam day, he now thinks about, oh, why didn't I study before? Why did I took such a long break? But it is already gone. The past is gone. You cannot bring it back. Now once he is into the school, there is the examination hall that is there, and the students are trying to write the paper, but this student who has been watching all sports during his previous days is feeling difficulty in writing the answers, and it's everything is almost blank. Now definitely you don't want this scenario to happen in your life, and that's why you are here. Might be probably 15 days before your exam, or some of you 5 days before the exam, and probably many of you around 4 to 6 months before your exam. But the idea is we do not want ourselves to be in a situation that is one of the worst situations that could be there. So what we need is a solid strategy. Imperfections are already there. Whenever we talk about any phenomena, let's say when I am taking a lecture, and none of the days would remain same. All the days won't remain same. There would be ups and downs, and based on that, you could have a little variation in your performance, and the same goes with a student. Let's say now it is totally self-study for most of the students. So what happens is, let's say 5 of the days you would work hard, 2 of the days you would be a little confused, you might not be able to find a right path, what to study, how to study. So there could be imperfections that could come in, and this is the time where you should check yourself, because as soon as you identify what are the imperfections that are there, you would be able to find a solution. But if you are not able to identify the imperfections, there would be a problem in attaining the solutions for the same. There have been one of the questions by Vijay. Sometimes we spend too much time on watching songs and videos and then try to study again but fail. Now, here I would recommend is, whenever you are studying, an ideal study time is usually 20 minutes of study followed by at least 1 to 2 minutes of break, and that is the ideal retention time. But when I say 1 to 2 minutes of break, it means a kind of relaxation for the mind. It does not mean distractions for the mind. So a little music song could be a relaxation, but browsing for social media, looking to your friend's profile, understanding what others are doing, and going through your all kind of social networking platforms would be a distraction, because that would take you totally away from where you were while you were studying, and your whole flow and momentum would break, as Vijay has asked in this questions. So there is a loophole in every kind of, let's say it could be a topic or a subject, because every person would not like all the subjects. There would be some students who would be liking let's say few of the subjects, other students liking another few subjects, but when there is an exam that you are trying to appear for, you would have to go for all the subjects. So there is practically no choice for you. You have to focus on all the things. But definitely when you are in your low spirit, when you are not that attentive, when you are not that focused, you can divert your mind to low effort work. What we say is the low hanging fruits, where you pick up easy topics, you try to revise what you have already done rather than picking up a new subject at a fresh. There is another question by Nakshatra. He has been asking, because of these songs keep buzzing in the mind and distract us. Now definitely a few of the techniques which we would discuss in a mind would help you, Nakshatra, working with this. There is another question by Suryadev. Sometimes it happens that when we study new things, we forget old things, and it is hard to revise again. So Suryadev, this is an excellent question. What we believe in psychological studies is when you are trying to study, there are episodes of long-term memory and short-term memory. So whenever you are trying to understand or read the concept, it's a kind of forgetting curve that occurs. So you try to retain, you attain maximum peak at a given point when you retain most of the concepts, and then it starts to move downwards. So a best way to bring this curve again upwards is revision. So for every assignment that you do, we suggest there should be 3 rounds of revision. 1, 2 days after what you have read, One is 1 week after you have read and one is 1 month later. So that should be your ideal practice time for each of the concepts that you study, and that would help you move forward with the concept in a very specific and a particular manner where the chances of retention definitely increases. Now, a good way what we focus on is specifically when you are getting back to work, getting back to studies after a long break, is choose your interesting subject. So that is one method that we suggest. So once you choose your interesting subjects, definitely it is interesting for you. It could be any of the subject that interests you. It could be science, it could be maths, it could be social studies, it could be languages, whatever interests you. Just pick that subject and try to cover that. Cover that in such a momentum that the methodology what we have talked about, 2 days, 1 week and 1 month should be the progressive duration for revision for this work. Now once you are into studies, okay, the thing is, getting to study is the first and the foremost barrier. Now once you are into study, we'll come to this point again later in one of the slides, but once you are into study, you are now interested. Now, and slowly and gradually your momentum gets strengthened. So you pick up the next subject, and the next subject or the topic could be a little difficult, not very difficult. Okay, so pick up a topic that is a little difficult and slowly and gradually move ahead. Also, what we recommend is do not force yourself. Do not think that, okay, I wasted last 10 days with, let's say there was a festival or there were guests at home, there were relatives at home or whatsoever, there were some family issues. So let's say there were 10 days that were wasted. Now at the 11th day, do not think that, okay, today I would wake up 4 in the morning and I won't sleep till 12 at the night and keep on working and working. That is forcing yourself. Rather than increasing your retention and your interest, you would slowly and gradually realize that this comes as a force, this comes as a stress for you, and rather than moving towards that path, you slowly and gradually tend to move away from it. So it becomes a repulsive force. It becomes a repulsive force, and therefore it's very important, do not force yourself. Once you are forcing yourself, there is an increase in the stress level, and increase in the stress would be good till a level, till the time it is use stress, but the soon it moves beyond that use stress, it turns into a distress situation. And probably many of you who are watching this would face this at some point in the life or the other, where they feel that they are too much exhausted, too much distressed, and they do not know what to do, how to start, and how to pick up a same momentum again. So do not force yourself. Start one by one. Do not think that I'll cover all the subjects. At least I'll cover one chapter of all the subjects on every day from today. Definitely not. When you have been on a long break, getting back to momentum takes time, and you should realize that this is slow and steady process, and ultimately it is slow and steady that wins the race. Sorry for the spelling mistake. Okay, so the next important thing is we have to understand the ways. Now there was a question by Vijay. Vijay was asking, how do we actually try to retain, or how should we actually focus once we are reading and then coming to YouTube or watching a song or watching a video? What is the best strategy to follow? So here are 3 best strategies that we would say. The first strategy is relaxation. So try to relax yourself, meditate. You can just lie down, focus on what you have studied for the day, and think about whatever you have done so far in the studies, not otherwise, and then definitely create a plan ahead. So this is one of the best relaxation techniques, simply sitting down and thinking, and that would bring you back to a good momentum. The next is meditation. Now definitely meditation is another way through which you are trying to enlighten your senses, and by this way whatever content you have been reading, the retention of that content definitely increases. So rather than taking a break, watching a video, you can spend that time in meditation, and towards the end, when you are done with all this, you can go back and towards the end of the day, you can have a time for relaxation for yourself, where you would be watching out entertainment stuff. The next important thing that we need to understand is exercise. Now we would come back to this topic again in a while, but the key concept that I'm trying to point out here is scientific studies and psychological researchers have proved that cognitive flexibility increases with exercise. A 35-minute exercise on a daily basis can increase your cognitive skills to nearly 40 to 50%. So your cognitive flexibility is highly dependent on the level of exercises, and a daily routine for exercises definitely boosts this. Before moving further, there are few questions I would like to address. Nagraj has a question. I did not studied for last 1 year, how to get back to study? Now definitely, if you had such a long break, bringing yourself back to study requires a while. So what are the best things that you can do is, first of all, think about the topics and the study area that you are into, and from that study area, pick out the areas which really interest you. The fact that you were not studying for a while, but probably you were working or you were engaged with some other assignments, so you had some knowledge that was there. It's not that only you gain knowledge from books. So whatever work you were involved with, you had a little knowledge. Try to make that knowledge applicative to your field and relate it, and that would help you develop interest. There is another question by Nida Mirza: how to create interest while doing research, because sometimes it is boring. Now Nida, I would personally say research can never be boring if it is an original piece of work, because let's say you are cooking on some day and you are trying to create a new recipe. Can it be a boring event for you? Definitely not. If you are planning to let's say go for a vacation and watch or visit a new place, can it be a boring experience for you? Definitely not. And therefore, in research, there is originality, there is creativity, and therefore it cannot be boring. The only way is your perception, how you look towards the research. So I hope from today onwards, research would never be boring for you. Tibin has a question to help prepare timetable. So as I said, Tibin, the best idea is there is no one else who can prepare a timetable on your behalf. The best way you can go forward is prepare your own timetable. Now how this can be done? This can be done by understanding your weak areas and your strengths. So what we call it as a SWOT analysis: your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So focus on your strengths and weaknesses. Give lesser time to your strengths, more time to your weakness, and that is the best way to succeed. So let's say if you are good at mathematics, you can spend let's say half hour to 1 hour on a daily basis, and if you are weak in social sciences, you can spend around 2 hours on a daily basis, and after a month or so you would realize, now I am able to spend equal time on both the subjects, because both the subjects are now my strong subjects. There is no weak subject that is left. There is another question from a student who is asking for a personal assistance. Definitely we do provide one-on-one consultation, and that is on a free basis every Saturday. So you can simply send in your request at admin@examrace.com for the same. There is another question: give the passing package. Okay, Manu, definitely passing package is very simple, and now if you are appearing for the board, there is internal choice, and most of the exams there are internal choices. So you are very much aware what kind of questions would be there for your examination. So passing should not be your goal. Your goal should be a little beyond passing. Okay, if not securing good, but at least a little beyond simply passing. There is another question from Subhash: how to be strictly disciplined? Now, I would say we are not in an era of Hitler. So, strict discipline is something that you might follow, but self discipline, I would say, is rather a good thing rather than following a strict discipline. So, by how do I differentiate strict discipline versus a self discipline? So when I say self discipline, that means I make it a habit of doing at least 7 hours of study and 3 hours of recreation, and those are at tentative. So it could go up to 8 hours of study someday, and it could go on to 5 hours of study on other day. But when I say strict discipline, it means exactly 7. So if I sit on 12, I'll stand up on 7 p.m. So that should not be the case. Your idea should be self-discipline, and once you go for self-discipline, you do not require a strict aspect with you. So strictness should not be there. You should allow yourself to be flexible, and with this flexibility you would have the joy of learning that would come in. With strictness, I would say you would lose that joy of learning. The next question is about Vanshika asking for timetable. Again, Vanshika, I believe you probably joined late. We already discussed the topic on timetable. There is the next thing that I would like to come up to before taking further questions. The next aspect is how to motivate yourself after a break. So there could be various therapies and various ways under which we could do. First, as we said, is time management. Time management is crucial. Definitely do not spoil your time, and the most common way of spoiling a time is probably looking onto what others are doing, going to social media, rather than gaining something out of that. You are trying to just create a time pass situation for you. So have a proper time management in hand. Sometimes social support is awesome. You can help yourself with social support. Sometimes there are situations when probably there was a family situation that happened, or there was a medical situation that happened, because of which you were on a break for a prolonged time. But with the help of your family support, with the help of your support from your friends, relatives, you can get back to work, get back to studies. And therefore social support, we would say, sometimes become very, very important. The most important aspect, I would say, is develop yourself as a stress resistant personality. Because if you develop a stress that I have not been studying for last 3 months, 4 months, how will I do it? You won't be able to do it for next few months also. So make yourself a stress resistant personality. I definitely know it's easy to say, difficult to implement, but the idea is try to relax, do meditation, do exercise, do yoga, and those are some of the ways through which you can improve your concentration and try to get back to the basic routine, and slowly and gradually you would be able to gain the momentum. There is another question by Manish. He asks about contacting Mind is Bright Solutions. Yes, you can definitely contact Mind is Bright Solutions for your questions and answers. There are another questions that have been here. There has been one question by Shivam asking about how to remember theoretical subjects. So we have covered a separate class, Shivam, where we have talked about memory tricks, and there we have talked about using mnemonics, creating cute names, and those are some of the ways through which you can remember theoretical subjects. You can also develop associative memory. Subjects specifically like history, understand it like a story. Now small children, if you meet, you would see that they are very much interested in storytelling. So consider history to be a story being narrated by someone, and once you take it in that fashion, this learning of history becomes very, very interesting. Sociology, Shivam, I would say this is something about your society, how people around you live and behave. So definitely it's very, very practical, very, very applicative, and it should not come up as a burden. When it comes to theories in any subject, I would say a good way to remember is associate people with some events or with some phenomena, and that ways you can create a relation and develop a relational memory. So those are some of the ways through which you can focus on theoretical subjects. Definitely some of you have brought in very good topics which we would probably take in one of the next classes. The next thing I would definitely recommend is challenge yourself. Now, as I said in the beginning, we talked about 3C's: commitment, control, and challenge. We would come on to challenge again in a while, but I want to bring in challenge here itself, because once you challenge yourself, you try to do it, and that's something we want. Let's say you have been very notorious for last few months and watching a lot of TV. So what you can do is you can simply challenge yourself: just for today I would not watch, and see whether you are able to meet your challenge or not. So set challenges for yourself and try to achieve those. It could be any of the challenges. I had been sleeping a lot, I would try to sleep less. I have been spending a lot of time on social media, or I have been spending a lot of time with my friend circle. Any one act in 1 week for 1 day, just try to rule that out from your life. And slowly and gradually you would realize that even when you left that day blank without that activity, it did not impacted you much. You were happy even with it, even without it. But slowly and gradually your addiction to that thing would wane off, and that would be one of the good ways of focusing more on studies. So definitely I would recommend challenge yourself. Keep your study plan ready. So what you want to study tomorrow morning, you should keep that on your table a night before. And that is one of the good ways to create a momentum for yourself, because you are setting your own targets and you are trying to meet those targets. So set your own targets and create a plan for the next day. Do not create huge plans. Do not create a timetable. When it comes to a timetable for next 6 months, okay, morning 6 to 6:30 I'll do this. I have seen students creating that in detail, but at the end of, let's say, 1 month, 2 months, they realize that they were able to do it for 2 to 3 days, 10 days maximum, or even if they were able to do it, they were sticking to the timetable so much that they were not able to attain what they actually wanted to attain. So rather than doing that, create a study plan where you should know next day what you are trying to study, and this would be based on probably what exams are coming, what you need to work on, and how you need to progress. So keep a study plan ready. Keep your books a night before on the table the next day you want to study. Sometimes you can chill out, so you can have a cup of coffee, relax a bit, listen to a music, plan to study with your friends. Probably that is a good technique that works for many of those. Or ask your friend to study the same topic that you have been studying, and then at the end of the day, both of you, or how so many you are, can discuss the questions or discuss the topics. So that is one of the good ways of creating a study plan, and this should be ready with you. The next is self-discipline. This is something that we have already discussed a little while ago. Now, self-discipline, I would say, is very, very important for you. But this self-discipline can come in two forms. It could be a short-term fix or a long-term fix. That means a self-discipline for a shorter duration. So for a shorter duration, I would definitely recommend moving outside, walking a little, getting little of vitamin D to reduce your fatigue would be some of the good techniques. Also, as we have discussed, one of the research studies that it increases your cognitive flexibility. The next is understanding the long-term fixes. So long-term fixes is you should be committed and firm to your task. It should not be, let's say, on day 1 you plan to appear for exam ABC. On day 2 you plan to appear for exam XYZ. On day 3 your parents come in and they ask you to appear for exam MNO. And finally on day 4 you are all confused what to do, and now you want to take a big break. So that should not be the case. Make sure what you do, how you do should be very, very committed. Take your time, think about it, and once you are ready with the thought process, you are ready with the idea, move forward and be committed. So that is again one of the 3C's that we talked in the beginning. So we would come to that again towards the end. Also, keep yourself organized. That is one of the good strategies we recommend. As we said, once you are there after a long break, taking difficult task in hand could be challenging, could be stressful. So try something easy, work on something easy, and then slowly and gradually move to difficult tasks. So in the previous section, we had talked about work on something interesting, what the subjects that interest you, and the same goes with the difficulty level. Try something easy and then slowly and gradually increase the difficulty level. So that is one of the good ways. There is another question by Nida: how to improve communication skills? Nida, this is an excellent question, I would say. Improving communication skills require effort. So if you have a good family background or people in your family who can discuss, you can set in, let's say, half hour to discuss the current events happening and the language in which you want to improve your communication skill. If not, you can pair up with one of your friends, one of your colleagues who is good at communication skill, and try to interact on a daily basis in the language you want to communicate. So that is one of the good ways of developing yourself. If not, the last way that you can do is, if none of this works, you can simply stand in front of the mirror and try to communicate and express yourself. The next is a question by Priyanshu. He is a first year student and wants to crack IPS in first attempt. What to do? So definitely you have to follow a strict routine, not a strict routine, a self-disciplined routine and a timetable. So follow and start with NCRTs, refer one standard newspaper on a daily basis, and move forward with understanding the events. So editorials are a good help. So by editorials, by reading editorials, you develop opinion, and those opinions would help you further. Shivam has another question about the scope of humanities and opportunities abroad. So definitely each of the subject, any of the subject, I would say, has opportunities if you are doing good. There is no subject where you won't find opportunities. The only thing is you have to create opportunities for yourself. The kind of interest that you have would determine which segment you want to pursue, which universities, which institutes you want to apply, and then you can proceed with related exams. But definitely whatever subject you try to go for, try to be applicative, try to be relevant in the field and contemporary in the field. That is something that is very, very important. Malayali has a question: how to get full marks? So I would say work hard and work hard. So that's the only tablet that you can have to attain good marks, and follow your routine on a daily basis. Do not take long breaks, and that is also one of the secrets that you can go for. The next thing is, what is a easy task? So I have a question for you now. I have two pieces of paper. What do you think, whether piece A is a easy task or piece B of paper is a easy task? Now tell me, what do you think? Which of these is a easy task? There are few more questions that I would address in a while, but before that I would want to ask you, which of these do you think is a easy task? So you might be confused. Both of these appear kind of blank pieces of paper for me. How can you ask which is easy and which is hard? So there is a sheet A, there is a sheet B. Now sheet A has written on it application. So there is something that is there. You have a mindset that you have to move forward with. However, with sheet B, it is totally blank. So it is not at all easy. That means whatever subject, whatever topic you are trying to study should start from the foundation. It should not be like creating a new foundation, because once you are creating a new foundation, filling this with the word application itself is a challenging task. You don't know whether to write application, whether to write a resume, whether to write a letter, whether to write an essay. Okay, but if you at least have in mind that you have to write an application, this task is definitely easy because you are very, very directed. Let's say today itself, if I have a topic in my hand that I have to present on a topic, how to deal with the studies after a long break, definitely this is easy for me. But if I am asked to say, if I am asked to come and speak, and there is just 5 minutes and I am given an open topic, speak on whatever you want, definitely it's challenging because I need to think what to do. So keep your tasks ready, and that is how you make your tasks easy. So to make your tasks easy, make your tasks ready for you. The next is a difference between what we said initially, before you start work and once you are working. Before you start work, everything is a big question. Before you start your studies, you do not know. So getting back to studies takes a lot of effort. But once you are studying, once you have started, even say you have started for 1 hour, half hour, 2 hours, you are already in the boat. Now once you are in the boat, you would reach the corner, and therefore it is very important to get into work rather than just sit and think that you want to get into studies, start your studies, and what to do for that. Okay, there have been question by Salahuddin, how many times should we sit and read in a day? So as we said, this depends on person to person. Some of the students can study for 2 hours and produce an output for equivalent to another student who is sitting for 9 hours and another student who is sitting for 7 hours. So definitely this is an individual quality. How much time you are able to pay attention to, how much time you are able to concentrate and focus, all of those matter, and those should not be ignored. So don't compare it that I am studying for 2 hours, my friend is studying for 9 hours. It's not on that grounds that you have to decide what to do and what not to do. And last but not the least, we have the 3C's for today, that is the closing ceremony for today, and that talks about the 3 important aspects. The first is commitment. As we discussed, be committed to your task. Do not let your task loose. The next is control yourself. Now this is where I say self-discipline and not strict discipline. And finally is challenge. Create a challenge for yourself. Do not take challenge from others. Create a challenge for yourself. Move forward with your own challenges. Do not compare yourself with others. So these are the 3 key things that if you keep in mind, you would definitely move forward and work on. So what we need to understand is, I repeat again, it is commitment, control and challenge. So these are the 3 C's that you must focus and must work on. There has been another questions about challenge. Yes, so definitely challenge should be taken for yourself. Do not take a challenge with others and do not compare yourself with others. Each individual is unique. Each individual have their own qualities. So stay safe, stay happy, and do not think how to start your studies. Create a plan right away. Start what you would be doing tomorrow. Just for today, do this much, not more than that, and you would be all set. Once you are in the boat, you would have to reach the corner, as we said. So enjoy your day, and we will see you soon again. And definitely there have been a lot of questions, a lot of queries that have been there. Many of those we have tried to address. For others, probably some of those we would cover in our next lectures. Have a good day ahead.